You're listening to This Could Be It, the podcast which gives you conversation, research, and big ideas for living a life that truly matters. And for helping you start today because, well, you know, this could be it.
Well, hi there, Mr. Michael Steger.
How are you doing today?
I think I'm doing better than you.
Thanks. You noticed, hey? Just like the weariness on my face and the slight yellow tint of the strange new lamp I'm trying out.
Just the lighting by jaundice.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm looking kind of presidential with this skin tone right now, but also possibly I have hepatitis. It's not clear. It's never clear. Those two are the choices we have these days. Well, I mean, I did test this out briefly before we started filming, and I thought that doesn't look too bad. And then the second you press record, I was like, I look like one of those aliens from Star Trek. You know, like the first Star Trek show, they would just like put yellow glitter makeup on some random people and call them a different type of alien. I think I'm one of
Your
those.
budget was pretty sparse. Yeah, not a lot of
And
special
the whole
effects.
universe was very humanoid, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But so you could argue that wasn't a great choice to test drive a new lamp. I thought it was going to get darker quicker, so I was nervous because we're here in the northern hemisphere now and all that sort of stuff. But so I made the choice for John. I think that's probably a bad choice, but choices are interesting. And I'm really curious about you. I mean, we're gonna learn everything eventually, anyways, Jodi.
It's all going to come out.
It's all going to come out, and I suspect that I will probably confess before you do. I'm a slightly compulsive self-disclosure of embarrassing things that I've done or have happened to me. But I'm hoping that you have some embarrassing choices that you can tell us about today.
I'm not ashamed to talk. I've been noticing lately, and this is not meant to be the confession booth where I admit that I need to get into an Alcoholics Anonymous program. But what I will say is this. I have been making a lot of bad choices lately about having the extra glass, and I'm exercising my own free will that I am allowed to have a martini and then a glass of wine and then another glass of wine, except I forget that I'm a lush and that I'm already kind of knackered by the time I've had the martini. And I realize choice is definitely a little bit, altered when under the influence. And so this may be a funky example, but I'm kind of baffling myself lately where as I age, I'm supposed to learn the lesson. I get really interested in this. Like, how many times does it take to learn a lesson? And I've been learning the lesson repeatedly about how, you're just not built for this extra glass of wine. So I'm making dumb choices, waking up and feeling gross and slightly regretting it. But then, 2 months later, I'll kind of repeat it. So that is an example to me right now of a
2 months
flummoxed
later.
and bad choice. What's that?
It'll be 2 more months before you have another 3-drink night. Is this what you're...
Well, no, trust me, I'm back on the wagon like tonight. Like, it's not an issue
Okay.
about consistent. I am nothing but consistent with my steady dose. But I would think that at almost 50, I would be able to say, I understand what limits are. Like, I understand where my capacity is, and I'm not good.
Yeah. Well, of course you do, except they keep changing everything. I think we've brought this up, right? Or in my mind, we've had a conversation about this, about how if we could just stay the same age with no more shit going wrong with our bodies for like 5 years, I think just once in our life, just to catch our breaths and understand aging, this is what I'm voting for. I've got a lot of beefs with things. You know, one of my biggest beef you just raised, which is, why aren't we better at living? This has been, as long as I can remember, one of the things that's confused me the most. Like, adults didn't seem better at living than dumbass kids. Parents seemed pretty good at living until you talked to them, and then they were insane. They had no idea what was happening in your life. They couldn't explain their world to you. So they seem to be surviving on routine. And then, eventually you find out more about them. You find out like, oh, well, that grandparent did X, Y, and Z. And
Yeah.
like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
Shouldn't
we're
have
not
been
very good at
allowed to
living.
make children and then make you. Yeah.
And they dallied somehow. And then, you just go from there. You're like, well, there's all these ancient books and practices and ways of transmitting wisdom and the correct answers to the test through the ages, and we are still terrible at it. I don't really. That's a good. I would like that. I would like someone to explain that to me someday. Like, why are we literally this bad at this? This
Yeah.
only job that we have is to live without, you know, messing things up too much, and we're pretty bad at that.
I guess, though, this is where I wonder, sorry, is it expectations? Because we kinda know by now. You said no?
I said no. This
Oh,
is like just objective reality we're talking about. We're not good at
yeah.
this thing.
Well, I agree we're pretty terrible, but I will do things, for example, like my other answer to things about I make bad choices is that it's not so much the choices I do make, like the extra glass of Pinot Noir, which does seem to beckon me so loudly, but it's the choices I don't make. You know, I have so many dreams and plans, and I think we've touched on this, um, eerily, remarkably, repeatably, interested in making a choice that's more rooted in safety or comfort than even aliveness, which is the very thing I love to spout. Um, and so that the disappointment in that, one way I get around trying to rationalize is going, well, I do some things. I can't do all of them. So I'm just trying to make myself feel good before I put my drunken head on the pillow at night. What are your choices? You give me a bad choice example, Mr. Confession.
I got a really, I mean, I've got a lot of them to choose from. I don't want people to turn against me super quickly. So we're going to start with
I think it's too late. Well,
too late.
if anyone's listened to any of the other episodes, you're already in the bad book, so just go for
I'm in
it.
a bad book. Okay. I think one thing that um, was a bad choice. Well, I went on this date in high school. Um, I think this says a lot about me. Like this may be one of the most diagnostic experiences of my life. I thought we were kids at this point, so I can say girl. I thought this girl was really cute. She was younger than me. Um, I was terrible at dating. Like I kind of got off to a good start, and then everything went wrong. My freshman year, and never recovered. Never got my feet back under me really. But there's this very cute girl asked me out.
She asked you out.
Yeah, to go see a movie called Dirty Dancing. Now, you would think that is no one could mess that up. That's like
I
good, right? This is a
mean,
good.
yeah, it's a pretty, like, raunchy, let's get it on kinda date.
She invited me, um, but I found the movie so preposterous. I was so bothered by how stupid that movie was that I complained about the whole time and got myself and her in a bad mood, and that was it. That was the end of the date. Just all right, see you.
Chronic, yeah. Okay, what was that about? Diagnostic.
Mm. Well, it was about um, probably at its heart, me feeling like a kid who didn't fit in, not understanding why people who I thought were idiots got to make up all the rules, and everyone was just jumping aboard all these dumb rules, all this popularity, and then all the interesting people I knew weren't that popular. Some were pretty popular, but and then this movie comes over, and we're all supposed to love it, and I was not in the mood for that. I don't know why. I was not in the
Mhm,
mood
mhm,
to love something that people told me I had to love or enjoy something people told me I had to enjoy. I never saw the movie E.T. for the same reason. Everyone was like, E.T.'s amazing. You have to see it. I was like, I think I can prove you wrong that I don't
mhm,
have to see it.
mhm.
So this was kind of how life went for me for most until like 2 days ago, maybe. And then I'd do some bizarrely conformist things. Um, I had an acid wash jean jacket that,
At what age?
at 16 or
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that.
'kay.
That's not a brilliant move for someone who's not going to conform to things. I also, I have a long,
So many
long
questions.
history of this is real pain we're talking about
I'm
here.
sorry, it's also funny.
thank you. My pain is usually makes people laugh. So I was looking at the University of Iowa as a possible school to go to when I was a
Mhm.
young lad. And I thought I was gonna be a journalist. I thought my life was gonna be a writer. I didn't know I was gonna be writing tedious articles that no one will ever read, and being told to start Substacks every 30 minutes and not being able to do that. I thought it was gonna be so I was like, they've got a good writers there, according to my dad. So then we're gonna go check it out. And I don't know, I bought into it. Maybe this was one of the first places we went. So it's like, okay, I need some swag. I chose basically a giant white cardigan sweater with the little Hawkeye logo here and then like stripes on the sleeves. And I wore that relentlessly. It was clear I was trying to rip off like the sweaters of the day, the Esprit and the
Yep.
Benetton and all
The
that, which I
preppy,
thought
yep.
was bullshit. I was like, these idiots, they'll just buy anything. I'm not, they can't trick me to do that. And then I show up with this like University of Iowa version of this, and
Right.
it was just the worst. Yeah. I mean, so there's that.
Yeah.
I felt for that. I actually, I didn't fall for it. I dug my own hole and jumped into it.
You chose it, and did it make you feel like you were putting on an act?
You know when it really not at the time, like it was pretty seamless in the little milieu in which I was operating in high school. But when I went to a very hippie, kind of out there little college in Minnesota called McAllister. I mean, it was like politically active, lots of pretty sophisticated identity things going on there. And I show up from the sticks wearing this sweater and my acid wash jeans I still had at that point. Then I felt like an idiot poser and probably shaved my head. So that's how that works.
Went to the other end, right?
Yeah, I
And
shaved
then
my beautiful mullet. I kept the rat tail for a little while. So I looked a little bit like there's a period where the lead singer of Tool looked like that. And that'd have been cool if that's who I was inspired by. But I was again inspired by the drummer of the band Rush, the least cool band ever. Who also had a rat tail
mm,
at the tail end of the 80s.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, always an original was my motto. I guess I just never listened to it myself.
Yeah, yeah,
Except in Dirty Dancing with a very cute girl who probably um we could have had a very nice time if I could have restrained my
yeah,
hatred of that movie. It's an
right.
unwatchable movie, can I just say?
Well, you might find people that would debate you, and I'm on the fence. I would say that it's evident about your values that in that moment you valued just spouting off the fact that you were so pissed off at it for all the reasons you stated, rather than just trying to land the girl and maybe consummate the deal. You had your priorities straight.
True. I will do very little to get the girl, it turns out.
And so the bad dating continued. Okay.
True, true.
Well, I like how you're highlighting very eloquently and also vividly with these very vivid visions of rat tails and acid wash. This is going to really, I mean, we could get AI to do some really interesting graphics for us of the existential given of freedom, which, in case anyone is curious, like what are we talking about? This idea
I
of
was becoming curious myself, so yeah, thank you.
yeah. Hey, I just like talking about fashion choices back in the day, and dates gone awry, and too much Pinot Noir. Which usually makes a date go better, just for the record. Just
No.
a little
Well,
bit.
I mean, I hadn't started drinking then, so if I if I decided that drinking was for me back then, I think I could have had a better date.
Yeah, okay. We could go back and do a redo. But that we have the ability, because we are essentially free, as one of the existential givens, it is we're on a wild ride, right? Where we get to make choices and then we have to live with the consequences of them. And I like your examples because yours have, I'm not going to use the word haunted, but they've stuck with you for several years. I mean, high school wasn't yesterday, despite your very youthful complexion.
Youthful, grizzled appearance.
Yeah, that jaundiced youth, it really, really keeps you looking young.
I know, and at
But
least it also affects the color of my teeth, which makes me feel great also. Yes, I need Topol, the toothpaste for smokers.
remember that commercial. Little stain. Oh God.
They're not this color, people, if you give a shit.
It's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we have to live with the we have to live with the choices we
Consequences.
make, good, bad, or otherwise, and that is so distressing as being a human, right? When we're left to our own devices and we can't even really blame other people, which is sometimes a comfort when we make a stupid choice, right?
Oh, sometimes a comfort that all of America's politics rely on that, as well as coaching. Every university administrator relies on being able to blame someone else.
Yep.
Don't you
It
think?
it is comforting for a while, and then we every now and then have these breakthrough little aha moments where we realize, "Oh, I'm the master of my domain? Wait a minute." And then we have that glimmer and glimpse and go, "Oh, fuckity fuck," because that means if I can't keep pointing fingers, or if I do realize if I wanted, I could change, oh, my outfit or the rat tail or the job or my relationship or my consistent exercise in saying no to the things I want, then I might be responsible for the life I really want to live. And that's actually scarier, don't you think?
Yeah, this is what's so interesting, right? Because it is tempting to blame people for this is actually a piece of like the optimist mindset, right? When things go right, we blame ourselves or credit ourselves. And when things go wrong, we blame the environment around us. That's what optimists do. Unfortunately, I'm a a pessimist. So I tend to like dismiss when things go well as just being like, I don't know how that happened. How did I get here?
Random.
And then just go nuts on myself when things go wrong. Um, but it shouldn't really, if Yalom is correct, it shouldn't really be possible to sustain forever blaming other people. Like,
It
aren't
would.
aren't you at some point there's going to be like the ghost of Jacob Marley or the ghost of Dick Cheney or I don't know who is the scarier ghost is going to show up and say, "No, you did not."
Yeah. By the
uh,
way, quick interjection in case anybody missed the first day of class. When you just said Yellam, it's Irv Yellam who's talking about these four existential givens. Go back to, one of the previous episodes. We talked about death, talking about freedom, isolation, and meaninglessness. Just had to say that in case people were just thoroughly befuddled.
yeah,
Please continue, Mike.
yeah, we went off to the races there. I actually literally wrote down a note. Jody will introduce the four givens.
Yeah, and then I just listened
Well,
to you
I
talk
didn't
about
exactly
acid wash.
prompt you. Instead, I started talking about the ghost of Dick Cheney. I don't know why. I don't have a hugely effective filter between my brain and my mouth, unfortunately. But
That's why it
you
makes you
know,
entertaining and popular also as a professor.
you would think. Thank you though. So it should be unsustainable, or is it? Like, what is the point? Like, if we can, is the point of freedom being this scary thing that we have to get better at blaming other people? Or is that impossible somehow? Like how do we let's get that out of the way first. Can we
Yeah,
resolve that
we're
forevermore?
going to resolve it.
Okay.
I'm gonna,
3, 2, 1,
yeah.
go.
Okay. My understanding that blaming other people, while certainly popular and seemingly effective, it's like one of the ways in which we deal with this burden of needing to make a choice and then feel responsible for it. Because there are other ones uh, like compulsive behavior or avoiding entirely, like avoiding making a decision is really remarkably effective. I mean, we do a bunch of things because isn't that the human condition? It's like when we start to feel anxiety by something, we just seek to soothe it. And other than back to my aforementioned Pinot Noir, I'm mentioning it way too much. I'm really going to create a reputation. Or we could get sponsored by a Pinot Noir vineyard,
That would be
which
great. That would be
yeah.
fantastic.
Like freedom is this notion that we are ultimately able to just be the architects of our lives in a world that is more random than we think. Fair,
Yeah.
fair. And
Yeah.
in that, then, wow, a host of decisions are available on the daily. So I guess I'm just maybe putting this blaming other people. I'm cutting it down to size, but not trying to say that it's not still ginormous. I just felt the need
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many problems with freedom, really, when it comes right down to it. Because if you accept that you can make some choices, do you have to accept you can make a lot of choices? Do you have to accept that you can make any choice?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's if any choice can turn out to be life defining and you've made that choice or something that led to that choice or blah, 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 then every moment of your life could be a pending choice to make that could completely steer your life in a different direction. And so then we're
You
bogged down with this idea
right,
that we have to keep making choices. I have to make
right.
a choice now, and now, and now, and now.
Well, even that expression, the burden of choice, is there for a reason because it is burdensome to feel either like, wow, amongst these selections of all great things, I want the greatest of all, or even just in the absence of all great choices, the fear of what if I make the wrong choice, or even on a grander scale of my life, like what school am I going to go to? Who do I want to partner with? Where am I going to live? All the big things. If it's a burden, I guess my question is, why is it that we think freedom's so fabulous? If we kinda know that actually it does distress us.
Yeah, we must have a lot of other we must have a lot of other ingredients that go along with it to make freedom palatable,
But
because
it has a
otherwise it's
couple
a lot.
pros in the pro list rather than the
Yeah.
cons.
The pro
Yeah,
list, there are some,
yeah, yeah.
but also it's interesting to think about how incorrect in some cases choice is, right? Like, so there's a story from a Bill Bryson book. He's a Iowa guy writer who moved to England and writes exciting books like A Walk in the Woods and In a Sunburned Country about Australia. Very, very funny guy. Wrote one of my favorite books of all time, A Short History of Nearly Everything,
Mm,
which is like a take on just all science. It's
hmm,
fascinating. It's fun.
hmm,
But he's got a book called On the Road to Little Dribbling, which I think is the right title and is also kind of, it feels like it can't possibly be right. But he's like wandering around England as part of this bid to make some money on a book. And, he's going to this little town. I can't remember what the town is. But in 1947, his father in law lived there in a tiny shack, very, very poor. Um, Kind of trudging 7 miles to go get stale bread from the bakery because that's what they could afford to eat. I remember that detail. And sorry, it was before 1947. It was 1944, 45, something like that, because it turns out that that house was bombed by the Germans in World War II. And it's near nothing, literally near nothing. It could have been an accident. It could have been, who knows? Maybe it was a conscientious objector, didn't want to hurt anybody, so just
mhm,
threw it in this middle of this desolate landscape. Hit the one shack that was around there. Or maybe the person was just,
hmm,
emptying out the bombs to make it back home on less fuel than they thought. Who knows what that random twist of fate was, but the bomb hit the house blew up, the family, this man had to move to estate housing in a different city where he met a girl who gave birth to another girl who eventually married Bill Bryson. You know what I mean? Like that's not choice. So it does feel like there's fate type stuff that happens too, right? Like, so
ugh,
I ask someone to marry me. That's my choice. But guess what? My role doesn't really have another option at that point. I have to see what fate brings me in terms of how erratically wrong in predicting how great I'll be to marry the
yeah.
betrothed is, right?
Okay, this is so interesting. To what extent do you believe in fate?
Oh, that's what's interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, in addition to
Kinda
obviously the
is kind of the
anecdote.
interesting answer you're hoping to hear. It depends on how we define fate. I don't believe in it at all in terms of predestination or a plan out there or, like there's only one person out there for you in the world. You have to bump into them, of course, randomly in this tiny little circumference of the world where you actually wander. You'll find the one person in the
Yeah,
world who's your exact match. I don't buy that. I don't believe everything happens for a reason. I believe there's a plan that's scaled down to my life size. Much less. I mean, maybe I could believe that, but it's not scaled down to the will the Minnesota Vikings ever win the Super Bowl to make me happy level. You know what I
mhm,
mean? So, do I believe that, however, that a lot of stuff happens that I got very little control over? Definitely. And then it's a little bit like the oceans. Do I believe that waves exist? For sure. Do I believe they're caused by far off things that I don't really understand? Definitely. Can some of those waves mess up my day? For sure. Can some make me really happy if I somehow manage to get up on the surfboard?
Mhm.
Do I believe there's anyone out there or anything like jumping up and down, making a wave that's gonna come and like sweep my camera into the ocean when I'm not looking? I don't believe that.
Mhm.
How about you?
Mhm.
Do you believe in fate?
No, not really, except when I do. So, it is usually no.
Convenient.
Very much. No, I am not a believer that, there's this predetermined fate, so I'm a big proponent of camp, we have agency, and we can make things happen in our lives, and, I have a inherent tension that exists in me then when it conflates then sometimes with the desire for control, because the implication is that, well, if I make all the right choices because they're not preordained. I get to be the narrator and the writer in my life, and I get to, well, wait a minute. The wave interfered with my life because that I was trying to make this happen, and I get that I don't get everything I want. However, um, there's been a new chapter lately that I'm trying to be open to, and so far I'm not doing a good job of it, of being open to how people talk about that. Because you're not in control, it might be rooted in more of a Buddhist type faith. Uh, to accept, which I understand acceptance, but the surrendering and the allowing that there is a bigger plan in a universe that then doesn't mean I take the hand off the wheel and I don't do anything because that would be horrifying. And also, I'm just not interested in that. But that tension between I create what happens next mostly versus is there a place to sort of sit back and allow this master plan to unfold that in some way has something bigger planned for me or maybe smaller planned for me? Maybe it's just different from what I had planned. So I sometimes I'm not swerving back and forth. I'm still on one side of the camp, but I am um let's just call it surrender curious.
Oh, okay. Now, here's another question. Do you think some people have faith, but others don't? Doesn't it seem like sometimes some people just stuff goes in a bonkers way for them?
Bonkers good,
Yeah.
bonkers bad.
Bonkers good, bonkers bad.
Either. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Almost
why? They
feels like those
have
people have
well,
fate. Feel like those people are subject to fate, right? Like more fate. Like there's a fate dial somewhere. Like, and some people have like low fate. It's like nothing really seems inexplicable seems to happen in their lives that they don't themselves do. Again, for better or worse. And there's other people who are like, they are just a ping pong ball in the dryer at this point, and they're going all over the place. And it doesn't matter what they want to choose because they were on the Titanic and they're the last survivor of the Titanic. And then they were in the great train crash after the Titanic that may have happened. And then, like the Hindenburg fell on them. And then, but they're still fine. Like, you're just like, this is not possible. I know statistically a billion monkeys typing a billion plot lines for a billion people will come up with that one. But it just feels like, am I insane? Like, I'm not trying to argue against free will or any of this sort of stuff, but it does seem
yeah.
like
Yeah.
some people are like fate magnets, if that's a thing.
That is fascinating. I don't know anyone who's like that, so I can't say I totally get you from experience. And part of me just wonders, we're often hearing other people's recountings of their tales, and I'm not suggesting someone fabricated that the train wreck after the Titanic was a bit of a exaggeration necessarily. Um, but I wonder, when the glasses you put on what you want to see. And so part of me wonders when people are recounting their stories about this thing that happened to them, if they fully believe in fate and they fully believe in it, then they're depicting it in a way. But you sound like you're objectively noticing. Some people just seem to escape death narrowly often.
I'm playing with this idea. I've not really thought about it before because I think I would think about people being lucky or unlucky. And I think I am slightly unlucky. Like
Well, back to you being a pessimist, that tracks.
this is just true. I've learned to be a pessimist. I think as a child, I was an optimist, and I learned to be a pessimist because anytime there's a 50-50 chance, it doesn't happen. It has to be like things have to be like 85-15 for me to have a 50-50 chance of things happening. And I know other people is like, it's just everything goes their way. Um, that is not objective. I'm not actually keeping track. I did start keeping track for a while. And then when it was like 52-48 against me. I thought, I don't know if I could take it if it actually ends up being 50% for, 50% against. So I stopped. Um, yeah, I wanted to feel like I've got bad luck. I kind of feel like I do have bad luck. I mean, I don't want to recount all this sort of stuff, but I think, like, I've gotten by in gumption here most of the time. But other people, maybe they've gotten by on even more gumption than me and more bootstraps and more stick out your chins than I have. So, and then, but some people, I mean, it's like a little the little bluebirds come out of the forest and put their clothes on like Cinderella, like somehow things just end up going their way. But what do you think about this whole conversation as an attempt to deflect away from freedom?
Freedom, yeah. Well, I admit that I think you have more of a belief in there being these outer forces at play than you have actually articulated because you've just given two specific examples of how how other people seem to live lives that might be influenced by chance or outcome, not necessarily their conscious choice. Their conscious, I've got free will, I'm going to act on this.
Yeah.
So I think that we all need to basically psychoanalyze you. I mean, that's obviously next up.
That
Uh,
is this the real reason we started the podcast? You just
it,
are like, this guy. What
it's
is that?
basically an intervention that a lot of people have been involved in behind the scenes to just
Yeah.
get you here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm pretty
It's,
flattered by that. I guess that I made some choice somewhere along the line that made that
yeah.
happen. That
Or maybe you didn't. Maybe this is actually beyond you. This is not in your choice. But
true. You know who's like really big into choice and the consequences of choice? I was just thinking about this. Like, I don't know if you ever watched Seinfeld. Have you heard of it?
oh, it's
I mean, because my
MASH.
students haven't. The students in my
That
class
bothers me.
have
No, I
not
know
heard of
every
it.
single episode. You could test me.
Okay, name the episode where some sort of decision the character makes towards the beginning of the episode somehow comes back at the end to fuck him over.
What episode doesn't that happen?
Point, right? And so now I'm watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, and again, it's all based on these sorts of things. Like he yells at someone, and so that person
Chain of
somehow has
events.
the keys to his destiny later on, right? Like, so Larry David, probably biggest free choice proponent, although oftentimes it's framed as fate, but it's always traceable to some stupid thing he did or some belligerent thing he did, right? And in Seinfeld, it was the same way. Like, I never thought about that until this conversation.
This is interesting. I'm going to go back and watch as the next one pops up on a rerun with all new eyes. But you were going to tell a specific episode story.
No,
And
I
you
have
weren't. Oh, it was
I have
more
seen all of them.
generic.
Although you did say mass of your domain,
Yep.
queen of
That
your
track.
castle.
Track.
So
Thank you.
I assume you want to talk. You're going to tell us embarrassing choices in
I was
in
going to
that
go
realm.
deep on that one. Very, very extensive. Well, we'll come back to
Keep
that one.
going. Yeah, come back. We'll come back to that in a later episode. Oh, we were gonna have to do episodes about the big questions, sex.
Well, we were putting one in the body. We're going to do the body. So that's got to lead to that.
I thought that would just be about poop and hair, but that's okay. There's other things the body can do, I guess.
Over history, it's done a couple things.
There's a couple things. Chop parts of itself off to spite itself. That's famous from the Bible. Um, okay, so
Mhm.
we've identified a couple things that are scary about choice. One
Mhm.
is implied in what we've just been talking about, which is we could have the illusion of choice and then we just look like idiots, right? It's like you think you got a special, like you go to Five Guys Burgers and Fries, and this is a
Great
chain,
choice.
right? And like you order fries, you're there for the first time, you order fries. Every time they do this, but like they fill your little thing of fries and they put more in. You're like, it must
I
have been how
don't.
nice I was. They said, try to smile more, try to be nice, ask about their day when you go around talking to people. And it worked. It really worked. I'm gonna try this everywhere. Like you want
I'm
to be a
so
coach
glad you
like that,
mentioned
right?
this. I'm too much of a pig. I still won't order the small fries, even though I know they'll make it the size XL. I still order the regular because I still want more fries, but it's excellent there.
Is there another part of freedom of choice or freedom? The fact that what if we're just being tricked and we're being manipulated and there was no choice all along, but we think all these cool things that we did were our own choice? Is that part of it, or am I getting even too neurotic for my
Well,
neural
I think
skills?
we will end, I mean, that comes to a dead end pretty quickly where it's sort of a, how will we know, right? Because you'll make a choice. You're gonna go to Five Guys and you're gonna order your burger and you're gonna
That's
order
right.
it the way you want it. But you may have a moment where you're going in and you're like, "Maybe today I'm gonna try the hot dog here. Maybe today's the day because they sell hot dogs there." I've always been curious. So, kinda
It's been
wonder.
so long. I haven't gone since I've been pretty much vegetarian for some reason.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry
know.
on so many accounts. Okay.
I know.
So, if there's this foregone conclusion that I was gonna get the little burger with cheese anyways, and we'll just play around with her and let her think she was gonna maybe order the hot dog today.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
we're
It's
never
like
gonna
being at a Thai
know.
restaurant. I start looking at the menu of the Thai restaurant. We all know I'm gonna order the pad Thai. I'm gonna ask the same questions about how spicy is the spicy. Is it gonna give me hiccups? I get hiccups if I eat things that are too spicy for me.
Mm, 'kay.
And like you go through the motions of like, well, maybe this is the time I'm gonna try something new at this restaurant.
Right. But but there may be a time, and maybe the food thing for you is not the one, but maybe there's another version where you actually are thinking, "I am at a choice point." And, they're scarier when the stakes are bigger beyond dinner, and I don't know, it's for to me, it feels a little bit like I can wonder, and then I'll just end up shrugging my shoulders if it's like, well, I just won't know. If there's an alien force out there that is ultimately making the decision for me, but I just feel somehow a little bit like, well, I'm in a little bit in control of my life because, again, I made the decision to move to Palm Springs or to order the hot dog or not. How will we know? Maybe there'll be an ending to that story where
How
we
will
find
we
out.
know? Okay, so that's a problematic defense here, I think, because how will we know is the problem of choice. It is the problem of freedom. How will we know if this is going to be,
Mhm.
the thing that unleashes the curse, or if this is going to be the thing that actually lifts the curse?
Right.
Is this going to be the thing where like everyone's laughing at me because I was like, oh, what should I do? What should I do? But then it didn't matter anyways.
Right. But
Like,
to see
so,
that example, that little moment where we're worried that, this other being is gonna laugh at us, who's gonna laugh? How like that moment of revelation, I just don't see coming, and I'm
okay,
thinking
okay,
that
okay. But do you think it can act like as one of the problems of choice? I've never heard anyone talk about this. So this is like, I'm trying to like find new space within the
right, we need to create new
neurosis of choice.
problems. Yes.
I do think there was a guy, who felt, um, folks were laughing at him, trying to live his life, but it didn't matter what he chose. His name was Job. I mean, come on. That's a pretty good one right there.
Thank you,
Okay.
Father Mike.
So
That's
that
good.
whole story is basically from the perspective of this episode about a man who is living life as if he had choices, but he really didn't. And literally, at least there's one angel up there kind of laughing his ass off at
Right.
Job just trying to waddle around with all the, didn't he have boils and a club foot? I can't really remember what happened, but
Probably a goiter.
a great and probably some sheep were slaughtered, I'm guessing. Or, it's a very serious story. I don't mean to joke about it, but you know, um there is some example of like, are we just sinners in the hand of an angry God, to go
Yeah.
back to like colonial America or whatever? But like, there is a little bit of that fretting about, but that's actually maybe not about whether we personally have choice. Sometimes those things seem to be more about whether there is fate or not. So, okay, yeah, we
Yeah, and I'd like
that's one.
I request for you to bring that back when we talk about meaninglessness, because that to me maps to the what's it all for? Like if everything's preordained and I don't have a choice and I'm just going through motions, what's that about? And I still like the idea there could be big thinkers like you in a way that I don't think of it in that macro cool smart way of where's this going? I will still just say I'm going to make my decisions in my tiny little world and do my best with those. Again, unless I don't make those decisions, which I
Right.
guess back to is a decision, but I'm going to do that. And if at the end of it all, it's all just revealed that it's a ruse and that I was just I'm a buffoon along with everyone else, well, then I guess that's fine. But
Okay.
as long as I'm making choices along the
So
way.
maybe we can put that whole idea in the more broad bucket of nothing is assured.
Mhm, mhm,
That's one kind of
mhm,
crappy feeling about this. Another kind
mhm.
of crappy feeling is no do-overs.
Yeah. Well, there's something in a lot of this conversation and research around it is that when we have this dawning awareness that, okay, I have a choice to make, and we're aware this is where it gets that existential poking at us, that I'm aware I could make a choice that I'm going to need to live with. And then it supposedly flares this, oh, now I see how I'm actually responsible for all those other dumb choices I made that I regret. So, rumor has it in the psychology world, you can back it up or not, is that sometimes making a choice is actually such a stressful event because we are reminded of our own issues of the shit life we created for ourselves. And that then creates a little bit of like a circular reference, right? Of, I don't like being in this position to make choices because maybe my track record isn't so hot, or it just makes me still feel I'm now I'm double responsible. I'm responsible for the choice I have to make right now in front of me, and I'm realizing with some degree of despair that I um haven't really done this that well so far.
Hey, so we have this sense then that we don't wanna we wanna minimize or be incredibly selective around the reminder that we have choice. I guess, very similar to the reminder that we're gonna die. You wanna be able to manage it wisely because we can find evidence that we're not very good at it. And
Well said.
everything that's happening now is the fault of our past stupid self making idiotic choices.
Right.
A little bit?
A little bit.
So then another problem with choice is blaming people for their circumstances because they made choices maybe advisable.
Mm-hmm.
Problem with this whole Yalom freedom is like inevitable.
Well, that's really interesting. I haven't thought of that. So it's the external judgment you're saying?
Well, doesn't it operate both internally and externally? If we can point to times in our lives when we've made choices to get ourselves out of a bad situation or make a big life change or go back to school or break up and find someone new or have children or not, whatever, and those choices have made a difference in our lives, don't we have a temptation to see people who seem to be struggling and wonder why don't they just decide to fill in the blank?
Totally. Yeah. And isn't that the boomerang when you start to judge someone else harshly, that then you have at least some flickering awareness too at one point that, oh, well, right, they're judging me too, right? This comes right, what goes around comes around in this way. So then we're afraid of not only our own internal sense of disappointment about the wreckage of our lives behind us. I mean, it's not all wreckage, but there's some
Wow.
body parts. Um,
It's just the Titanic as
it
far as I can see. It's Titanic's all the way down.
and we're aware others can see my poor decisions. I actually look at the external, seeing someone else, because I'm very good at judging other people for their bad decisions. I'm very good at that. Yeah, it's actually like a key trait.
It's a
Um,
key
but
trait.
I know it's
And
rooted
this
in
is
my own.
you've got services around this. You can be booked by the hour. Put on
Well,
your
yeah, sometimes I'll give it away for free if I'm in the right mood.
really? Oh, that's
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, I will judge you. And I know that it's rooted in my own discomfort in myself, you know?
Well, that's less funny. Than if there's just idiots everywhere.
Well, actually,
Idiots
both are
everywhere is
true.
the funniest explanation for anything, isn't it? I
Well,
mean,
that's a given.
I
That's an
know I'm an
existential
idiot.
given.
I know I'm one of the idiots in other people's, like, rants about life. Like, I do sometimes think about that. I think, am I the idiot that someone else is right now complaining to some other stranger about? Like, I don't think I'm quite that bad because I hardly ever leave the house, but like, there must be some of those times when I am the fool that annoyed someone else so much that they're like going on a rant about me to somebody else.
Well,
There's a kind of comfort
okay.
in that, I guess.
You know, the old adage, if you come across an asshole in the morning, that's too bad. If you come across an asshole in the afternoon, that's a bad day. If you come across an asshole in the evening, you're the asshole. You've just made me think that if we are irritated by people all day, all the time, I do think that we now have officially a giant mirror in front of us.
Are idiots. True. I like what you just concluded. Okay, so if we move on to other non Mike is an asshole conclusions that we might draw from this Tracy thing. So is it there's a lot of things to be worried about here. We're gonna have to start getting positive soon though and start thinking about some of the solutions. But one of the things that um if we believe we've been making choices, if we believe we've been making bad choices, if we believe we've just been failing to make the right choices, whatever it is, there is some Mike out there who was able to work that Iowa cardigan sweater in a different circumstance and become, um, a nice finance guy with slick back hair and, leather shoes. I think they wear shoes made of leather. I'm not really sure what they do. And maybe that guy would have like been influential and had a little library somewhere named after him and, had kids in private school and all these sorts of things. So that version of me is dead because I went to a bonkers little hippie school, which I loved a lot, but it was not, it wasn't a place that's rewarding exactly conformity. But that guy's dead and gone because then I shaved my head. I forsook that guy. Forsaked or forsook?
For Stucken.
Forstuken. Frühstücken is breakfast, I think, isn't it? In German. So So what other you're talking about the ruins of the life behind you. Let's put some bodies in those ruins, right? Like what mics are laying about strewn across the wreckage of our pasts and what Jodies have been abandoned and eventually starved to death with no more hope of manifesting.
Lee, I love this, the lost possible selves concept. Is it Shelley Gable's work? This idea that we have these fathomed versions of they're always better versions, right? And then
No.
they don't
Hedge fund
material
money seems pretty crappy, but yeah.
they somehow don't those dreams don't come true, and then we have to give them some sort of a funeral. And we have to mourn their loss. I mean, maybe not consciously, but I do think, I there's so many of those things where it's like choices, you're right, choices of, um, should we have moved to Scottsdale? Like, we could have been so happy there. What would life have been like? Yeah, what we didn't end up doing that. I changed school a lot when I left, high school, like my major, and in
Wait,
Canada, we call it
wait, you
university.
changed schools or you changed major in school or both?
Both, both. Yep, and
Hard to
it was
please.
and also it was uncharacteristic really because I was sort of this, sort of straight-laced, like, decision making, like, I'm gonna be on a path, but it was trying new things on for size and then realizing, "Oh, this doesn't fit." I'll never forget my first year, I went to a faraway school in Northern Ontario, which is, like, the first problem, for, outdoor
Like with like polar bears in Churchill or like that
there were probably some polar bears, but outdoor recreation, parks, and tourism, and, just for the record, like, I'm an indoor cat, and I needed to prove to myself that maybe that version of me is not good. I'm not gonna be that cool girl, like, that she just not even in me. Never gonna happen. Like, she didn't emerge out of the cells that I currently had. Not that I grieved her loss because she just was never meant to be born, but it was like, could I be this person? And it was, could I be the art history person? It's
Yeah,
very creative, and then maybe, gets a job in a cool museum. No.
in Northern Ontario. Yeah. in Northern Ontario.
Well, no, that would be have to be an Inuit museum. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed
Be
to say
very
those words.
cool. Okay, so we're gonna give some useful advice soon. We want to warn people that it's not all going to be making fun of ourselves. But one thing seems to be you're suggesting. I mean, what is the function of a funeral? Right? We memorialize, we appreciate, and then we accept no new news about uh, Museum Jodi,
Yeah,
Cardigan Mike.
yeah, yeah. I think I like the way you put that about the funeral, that it's a graceful acceptance that could have been part of me, but what choices now do I wanna make that will allow this next chapter. And by the way, I'm kinda conscious about this chapter idea because I think sometimes this choice fear gets lodged in, like, this is a life-altering thing,
Mm,
and a lot of decisions seem to be life-altering, right? Like getting married or moving somewhere or a school choice or a job choice. But I encourage the we could make changes. Like this is a stint in the career, or this is something where if that gets us off the hook of feeling anxious about this next thing I do for my work is going to be the thing, it's my identity forever, or is it? So at any rate, there's my advertisement for what if it was the short. This is your decision for now until it doesn't delay you anymore, or until you learn otherwise that actually maybe it was a shit choice, and then you can still correct it.
yeah. Okay. So I like that too. There's another good instead of only having funerals for your past self, you can freeze a version of yourself and revive it from dormancy somewhere down the road, right? Like I think both of us think we ought to be a little bit more daring with life choices and just go do bonkers things and, not let excessive need for stability and comfort hold us back. But, there's still a little while I can trick myself into thinking that I can put some adventurous Indiana Jones version of Mike in a cryogenic chamber and revive him later. To go do, I don't know what would be very cool to do, but not sitting in the same spot I was sitting in, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
can, I think in that actually leads to a third thing. So number one, funeral for the selves you had to choose to move on from, for better for worse. Sometimes we don't always know that we're going to lose an important part of ourselves. And number two, you can make choices for now and go back. And if there's really sort of consequential choices, some of us know choices are going to be consequential, obviously, like getting married is a consequential choice. Getting divorced is a consequential choice. Taking a job somewhere is a consequential choice. Quitting that job and who knows what else is a consequential choice. So sometimes we know that there's consequential choices coming. And maybe those are the ones in particular we freeze a version of ourselves for later. But then number three seems to be like, how do we decide which choices we're going to give a shit about?
Yeah.
Because we probably give too much of a shit about pointless choices and not enough about huge choices. I was just looking something up. The average amount of time American workers spend figuring out their company retirement program is like 30 minutes to an hour in their lifetimes. It's the most consequential financial thing they'll ever do in their lives for most of us. And they spend less time doing that probably than reading reviews for like literally anything.
Yeah. Yeah. What coffee maker to get on Amazon.
Coffee maker to get, whether you should try jeans with a little stretch in them or not. What was I persevering on? Oh, a vacuum cleaner. Try to make that decision in this world. You know what I mean?
Just get the
So
Dyson. Just make the decision. Dyson. Don't even think about it.
I was not born in a pyramid made of gold, so I can't afford that brand name. But some people can, and then they can do that. But I had to. I can
You
put a plug in for Jelly Pig brand. That's what I went with. So
That's a brand?
that should be yeah. It sounds like a fake sponsor, but I would love it if Jelly Pig would
Ju
sponsor us.
I just want that. And is this you on the floor with a straw just sucking? Is that the jelly pig
That
straw that
doesn't
you
sound
buy?
very jelly like. Uh, Jodi, you may someday, once we get Jelly Pig as a sponsor, rue those words. Um,
I'll be
right.
banished. That's
But
fine.
yeah, but
Choices I made.
I think we have to overcome like a paradoxical thing that we have. We invest energy in choices that amount to very little and avoid thinking that we're hyper involved in choices that have huge consequences.
Okay. So I see you veering towards a
Solution.
reckoning of we take these choices and go in the moment, be like, is this a small, medium, or large kind of size this issue?
Mhm.
And then what happens if there's a moment where you go, okay, wait a sec. This is a goofy thing. And by the way, I like the work of Barry Schwartz. You know, he talks about making decisions. And sometimes you have to satisfy, like just look at 2 reviews and make your choice and move on if it's not that big of a deal. It's not going to break the bank or whatever. And then, because some of us are what they call like smizers, like we just want to like make sure it's the best vacuum we can afford. But, you know,
I went
97
with the
minutes
one with
later,
the had the funny name. So there's
well,
those people
that's a
too.
great, I mean, it says your choices say a lot about you.
Yeah.
Um, so,
But that
but
is
back
your
to the
that's what your
application.
assertion is. You and Yalom say so, but people who believe in fate would disagree. But yeah, so like you're saying there could be different sizes, there's different strategies.
Yeah. So if it's a large choice, we know this is a biggie because it's a lot of money, or this is going to change my day to day, or could lead to something into the future. How do you think we handle it then when we come across a choice that we're trying to be blind to? Like, those choices we're not making because it's convenient not to? Like, maybe it's a choice to deal with a tricky relationship,
Yeah.
a choice to move on from a job that is hurting us from the insides out, the big things that, because the decision to not do something, as we know, back to your rush guy, your
If you
rush
choose
wash.
not to decide, you still have made a choice.
Right. So if we're being honest, if you're sitting back at your local coffee shop and having a reflective moment of choices, small, medium, large, you can't forget the fourth column then, which is the choices that you're pretending that you're just in, like, because we go down like that lazy river of life, right? Like that
Yeah.
passive, I'm just letting my career happen, or it's in a holding pattern. If it's not hurting, it's okay. But I know it's not good. It's not like this isn't the alive life I want. If I was given a choice, oh, but you are given a choice. So I feel like
I
that's the
think that
hard
just
part. I don't know why. I just wanted to be physical and bite my knuckles, and now I
okay, you
left.
bit your
Now
knuckles.
I left
That's what was
indents.
happening. I thought you were making fun of my like Invisaligns.
No, no,
Um,
I wouldn't do
okay.
that.
Oh, I think I was going to start off with a two-dimensional space to explain all this, but I think I'm going to add a third dimension, and then this will be a revolutionary thought that probably no one's ever had before. So, two-dimensional space. This is my new rubric for making choices in a inevitably choice-filled world. Okay, you have what we're talking about, magnitude of choice, right? Is it like a gives a shit choice, or is it like a this is a big deal choice? Okay,
Okay.
big dealness.
Just quick timeout. Do you have a train coming at you right now?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. Like I think. Oh my god,
That's good. Okay, sorry. Sorry, back to you.
experience of my life. Okay, so how big is a choice? How do you feel when you're trying to make it? Shitty, not shitty. Okay, so if you feel shitty while you're trying to make a little choice, I think it must be the camera on this thing. Like it, yeah, that pales me out again. I don't know what's happening.
It's
Fun
amusing.
with
Keep going.
technology. Everyone loves this. Cut this out. Okay. So if you feel shitty trying to make a little choice, just make a choice. Get it over with. If you feel shitty trying to make a big choice, you need to work harder. You need to lean into that choice.
Meaning what?
Meaning then you like maximize it. You need to get more, you need to consult more people. You need to get more information. You need to do the deep dive. Uh, right. Because I think normally if you're enjoying trying to decide what kind of vacuum cleaner you get, which I was not until I saw the name Jelly Pig. Then I enjoyed it quite a lot, and I just looked for reasons that was the best one for me. Um, but if you're not enjoying trying to figure out which cereal doesn't have like poisonous colors in it or whatever, then keep going. If you love that, keep going. If you dislike making big choices in your life, these big ones, partners, jobs, spending the 31st minute to decide what you're going to invest your financial future in, all these sorts of things, to have kids or not, then if you think that if that makes you feel terrible, you're going to run away from making that choice, right? Because we tend to avoid things that make us feel terrible. And then we'll say like, we'll leave it to chance or whatever.
Mhm.
There's also, I think the third dimension was something about the avoidability of choice, right? Because you hear people saying like, I'm just going to say yes to everything, right? And then someone makes a episode of some show about it, and eventually the guy's buying crack, and the person has like agreed to join some like extremist group, and all sorts of terrible things have happened, right? You can go anywhere, and these episodes are never very good because I think we already understand that you can't say yes to everything. So like there are things where we are just not active, right? And being aware of what those are and how those affect us, I think, is another dimension, right? So saying yes to everything feels good for people who can be living in a spontaneous space all the time. It also probably feels good to people who are bad or find it very unpleasant to make choices. So that's like, it's all diagnostic because the most important choices we make, I think a lot of times because they're hard, we look for the most ridiculous reasons available to just make a choice. Do you know what I mean?
What was an example?
Okay. Whether you should get married or not. They hot? Like that's a great part of that's a great part of a decision-making matrix. Or should I quit my job and move to everyone wants to go to Thailand. So I quit my job and move to Thailand. I'm going to wait for an answer. I'll look for a sign. And then, you know, a taco truck drives by. Food. I got to go. It's like, you see people do this. I myself have done things where I'm like stuck in like, screw it. I'm just going to like pick five random things. That's it. That's the answer. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So like,
yeah.
I do think that at least accepting that some choices are inevitable for us to have to hurt for a little bit to make good
Mhm,
choices
mhm,
is important. And other
mm.
things we can let go unless we like the exercise of our free will in those
Yes.
cases.
I like your dimensions.
What more needs to be said? We solved free choice. We solved free will and we eliminated the existential given of choice with this handy little rubric
This rubric is pretty much the answer to like our
for the human
human.
condition.
Right, wow.
We
How
did
much
it.
money do you think you're gonna make off it?
Episode 4. I mean, like, it didn't take us long.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're good at this. Uh, but yeah, so there can be scary things about choice. We're not always very good at making choices. But look, we've also made a solution for people who make bad choices. You just have more and more funerals for more and more dead versions of yourself. I mean, what's to be afraid of now?
You just practice for your own inevitable death. Died of
Then you
poor
get into
choices.
that part too.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think?
I feel like with all these solutions, I don't know. Do you think that maybe this could be it?
I think this could be it.
Okay, cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
Made such a good decision with that light.
I literally can't understand what's happening with it.